Welcome to the GreatBase Tennis Podcast. I'm Andy Fitzell, your co-host, alongside Steve Smith.
The Beast and the Beauty.
Good way to put it. And this is episode 34. We're talking all about doubles.
Doubles.
The first of a two-part series on doubles, because you know what? When it comes to talking doubles, we can talk the talk.
We love doubles.
Yeah.
Number 34, time marches on. When I think of number 34, I think of Walter Payton, Chicago Bears, one of the best running backs of all time.
Yeah, the Bears.
Neil Anderson was in the backfield with Walter Payton. Neil played at the University of Florida, the Gators. He's retired and lives in Gainesville. Andy Brandy, who many years ago was a women's tennis coach, he sent Neil to me because Neil is a tennis nut. Since then...
Yeah, Florida, he was a women's tennis coach here.
Yeah, Andy Brandy. So Andy sends Neil to my tennis school. A few years later now, Neil's hitting some golf balls because of bad knees, but just absolutely loved tennis. Mm-hmm. So he visits several times. We do our dog and pony show, first time we film him. On his second visit, he'd watched our course, Tennis Intelligence Applied, 3 times.
Nice.
It's 75 hours.
Dedication.
NFL, let's watch some film.
Yeah, exactly.
So he comes back, quiet man, gentleman. He says, I love your system. Mm-hmm. Not really, as we're going through this, it's not my system of systems.
Yeah.
He goes, but I got to tell you one thing. I just started laughing. I knew exactly what he was going to tell me. He goes, it won't work because it's too much work. Like our podcasts, they're not 5 minutes long. But he, really, really got into it. But when I think of Walter Payton, I think of
his point was
Neil Anderson.
Yeah, his point was that just people aren't willing to put the time in.
No, it's usually more of a hit and giggle approach, and the action method, and you're good to go instead of let's go slow, let's treat your tennis game like a holiday meal instead of microwaving it.
It's a textbook. It's not a magazine.
Yeah. Andy Brandy actually sent me, not to digress, but I have to go through this another time. Ray Schonke was a football player who loved tennis. And he worked for Donald Dell. He was in the Washington, D.C. area. Mm. Ray Schonke, he played for the Dallas Cowboys. He played for the Green Bay Packers, and he played for the Washington team, formerly the Redskins. Mm-hmm. And is to go through the different stories of working for those coaches. But yeah, Neil Anderson, work. It is work if you want to have tennis be a masterpiece.
Trabajo.
Let's go through doubles. Doubles is doubles. Mixed doubles is mixed doubles. Dick Braden's tape will go through that.
Yeah.
Go for winner. Fantastic. Mixed doubles, fantastic adventure. Granted, there's a few minor details with mixed doubles, but for the most part, really good doubles teams. It's not a matter of, overplaying the female, at the lesser levels, but because the highest levels in years gone by, the best female doubles players, they just held their own, but they played what Martina Navratilova calls real doubles.
Yeah, exactly.
Meaning it's serve, go to the net, going forward.
Yeah, I mean, she won her last mixed doubles with Bob, I believe, right? She was like 59 or something?
49, I think.
49? Sorry, Martina, if you ever hear this. I'm not saying
maybe she was 5-0. I think that was a compliment to Martina for sure. I don't think that was a compliment to women's tennis overall, that Martina could still play on the biggest stage in the world at that age.
Well, she's got the skills, the double skills, and she doesn't have to, obviously in doubles, you don't have to cover as much ground. She's going forward.
Well, tennis court's 36 feet wide. You divide it in half, 18. If you got a really aggressive partner, which you should, big time doubles.
Yeah.
You really have to cover about 15 feet when you come in. And if you split step, take one step, extend your arm, extend your racket. Racket's 27 inches. Your arm's about the same length. So just round it off. You've got 4 feet going one way just with your arm and racket. One step, you got 7 feet. So one step either way. That's the math.
Tennis is all about art. You're throwing out all these numbers at me, and I'm just going, you got to feel it. All right. It's all about art.
Got to feel it.
Now that goes on. That's a little play from one of your last stories that you told. If you haven't heard that story, Math and Art.
Patrick Monigulu.
Then you got to check that out. Steve's Stories on YouTube or Instagram.
With starting point for me, All-American Sports, almost 50 years ago, 1970s.
Gosh, dang, you're old. I say that every episode, but it just hits me sometimes.
Simple tennis camp format. You take 4 players. Ideally, you have an MC, master of ceremony. But you could have 4 players, and one of the 4 acts as the master of ceremony, coordinating the demonstration explanation of doubles. Each person explains their role and responsibility.
Yeah.
You have the server. You got the partner of the server. You got the returner. You got the partner of the returner. Just comes down to the X's and O's. Mm-hmm. Then the MC covers key points like moving together, communication, the hand signaling, or signaling, I should say, because there's a couple of different ways to do that. Mm-hmm. Capture the net, force the other team to hit up. On the flip side, the do's and don'ts is always a fun clinic to say, okay, this is how not to play.
Yeah.
And usually what happens is people play one up, one back. So it's just a half court rally, cross court rally, and 2 other people are waiting to play.
Yeah.
So you just, as a skit, you just take your racket, the 2 players, and you just sit down on your racket. Let the butt of the racket be on the court. You sit on the head of the racket.
Yeah.
And then you talk to the opposing net person. You say, hey,
how you doing?
Where are you going to dinner tonight?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Hey, so you like Chinese food? Yeah, one of my favorite drills is to do is dummy doubles. I'm sure we'll talk about drills.
Yeah, let's go back to Chinese food. With Wayne Cashman, Boston Bruins, he gets arrested for public intoxication. He gets 1 phone call. And then about an hour later, in the Boston jail, his gentleman from Chinese restaurant walks in and says, in Chinese English dialect, food for Mr. Cashman. Food for Mr. Cashman.
He uses 1 phone call wisely.
Yeah.
Little orange chicken. I've been vegan for 3.5 years, though, man. No more orange chicken for me.
Vegetarian means poor hunter. Let's go with server. What are the roles and responsibilities, Fitzell? Dr. Fitzell.
First thing, I learned this from Vic Braden. Talk about Vic often. Which I like this rule, generally speaking, to serve to the side of your opponent that will produce the longest and highest ball or return. And why do you want it? Because it gives your partner the ability to then poach, pick it off, and then if they do get it past your partner, then it gives you a nice, easy, high volley.
Well, back in the day, so many backhands were one-handed as well. So people were not hitting top on the one-hander years ago like they're hitting top on the two-hander.
Yeah. But, get the ball in play. That's obviously a given. You got to get it in. But how do you set up your partner, really? And so, when you serve to your body, you're going to be able to set them up just with the math that you were talking about, the angles of the court, so that they could poach and not have to feel like they have to cover the alley if you serve out wide.
In today's tennis, the serves are getting bigger and bigger. Yeah. And the person up the net usually is called the cleanup person. Mm. But years ago, you would hear, and I think this is more for players in their formative years, you think of working backwards, pro tennis, college tennis. But say juniors and club players is 80% of your serve, 70% of your first serves in. When the ball's in flight, you're in movement.
Yeah.
You're hitting basically 2-second serves because you get closer to the net.
3/4 pace was the word that, or the phrase that kind of I grew up with.
That would be 75% if you'd gone to high school.
See, so for me, it's all about the art. It's just the way you say it. 3/4 pace sounds a little better than 75%.
Approximately 1, 2, 3 split step.
Yeah.
Make 2 shots as a server. Join your partner at the net. Try to form the wall at the net. Just like single strategy, if you win 2 out of 3 at the net, you're doing A-okay. 4 out turns into 4 out of 6, 8 out of 12.
But it's amazing. I mean, what I learned very early when I first started playing, and a lot of it was just playing against, 3-0 club players, but it was like, you're going to serve and volley first and second serve. And I know when I first started playing, like everybody, I had a little pizza position, palm up serve, but it was like, hey, this is the way you play doubles. You serve and you go forward. So it was like first and second serve, you serve and go to the net, but that doesn't happen too much anymore. Not even at the highest levels.
Yeah, we'll go through it. I think what happens more and more, see in college tennis, is people sell out to winning. Let's win now. And if you do the math, someone is closing the racket head on both sides, hitting top.
Yeah.
That especially the incoming freshmen, the ground strokes are better than the volleys. And people, I think in every level of tennis, it's a crisis that people, they sell out to winning. The business of winning versus the business of development.
Yeah.
But being able to pinpoint your serve. So a body serve is a great serve, taking the angle away. Yeah. So many players that we work in their formative years, right-handed players, deuce court, they open up, body's the leader, and their serve goes to the opposing forehand. Shoulder houses the hit, is trailing, they can hit top, angle begets an angle. You've already said it, is your goal of serving is having your partner get as much action as possible.
Yeah. I mean, they're closest to the net. They've got the opportunity to put the ball away. So if you can set them up.
Yeah, that's where people stand. Positioning is so important with all four. So you come back to this tennis camp setting.
Yeah.
Years ago, you'd go to the center mark on the baseline and go halfway out to the outside. Mm-hmm. Gonzalez is given a great deal of credit for changing that both in singles and doubles. I'd say it was one of the beginning stages of the I formation. So Pancho Gonzalez had a great serve. I mean, Braden told the story about a pro tournament in Cleveland that everybody's complaining about how good Gonzalez's serve was. So they had a pro tournament with the rule that you could only have one serve. And Gonzalez won it easier.
Yeah.
So you can actually stand in. That gets into the different formations, which we'll cover, where you can stand closer to the center mark. He did that so he could direct the ball easier to the backhand of a right-hander.
Right.
Years ago at Wimbledon, you would see the run-up where the players would split step. That's a great telltale where that's not the case anymore.
Yeah.
The grass is not being worn out because players... they're not coming in singles or doubles like they used to.
Yeah.
I think at Pete Sampras, coming to the net 104 times in his last match, people didn't copy Pete, glass act, and people aren't, in this country, all over the world, the juniors are really not copying the Bryan brothers.
Well, it's just like we were talking earlier today, that going to the net when you're first starting out or when you're a young kid is a losing proposition. You go to the net to lose at a faster rate because you can't reach up high, you can't reach wide, and so people want to win.
Yeah, and the time factor too. So you get close to the net. We'll get into application, how you teach young kids. You don't just say, okay, let's start playing doubles. You got to build skills so they can play doubles.
Right. I think that's the whole thing. Skills. You got to have skills. You can't serve and volley if you can't serve and volley. But the idea as the server to join your partner at the net and become a wall.
The partner at the net, during the courtship, the macho miligo, he lets his female partner in mixed troubles stand out in the middle of the box, draw an X in the box, stand in the center of it, and then once they're married, the honeymoon's over, Vic would say that the macho miligo would put the man in the alley, and he said, "Where I really want you is just stand outside the court, and I'll cover the whole court."
Hey, babe, here's the deal. You're going to cover the all-important alley. I'll cover the rest.
Then he makes a circle around where the female players stand.
If you haven't seen Go for a Winner, you got to see it. I'm not sure if it's on YouTube or not, but amazing. One take.
So the partner of the server, you should draw an X, and you want to actually stand a little bit behind the X's. So the service box, the center of the X, you're behind it, and then once you hear your partner serve, then you move forward. You want movement. You don't want to be standing still.
Yeah.
You want as much action as possible. A tip-off that you don't know how to play doubles is when, say, one partner tells the other partner, guard your alley.
Yeah, guard your alley. It's someone that you watch the Bryan brothers. I mean, you just see how they really squeeze the net, pinch the net, as soon as that serve is hit and they take those couple of jump steps forward and they're all over the net. Obviously, it's nice if you can be over 6 foot and have great volley skills, but that's the idea. You want to be intimidating up there. So if you're standing way over to the left, guarding the alley, or standing far back, you're not very intimidating to the returner.
You could be 5 foot. You just have to be able to jump like a pogo stick. So when you are up at the net, you communicate your movement to the server. And the partner of the server, typically it's a hand signal behind the back. So like, one finger, I'm going on the first serve. 2 fingers, I'm going on the second serve. Fist together, I'm not going.
Yeah.
Open hand, I'm going on everything. Just the thumb out, I'm going to fake.
Yeah.
Fake that you're going and then come back.
And I think a lot of times now in pro tennis is, they just communicate beforehand because of, people reading their signals and then telling, You have a story about that, actually. That's one for Steve's stories, maybe, with the Davis Cup. But people communicate what the net person's going to do to the team, so they got to be careful.
Vic used to always talk about, like, if someone's played some baseball, there's so much signaling. The first base, especially the third base coach, the catcher to the pitcher.
Yeah.
With club tennis players, a lot of time they haven't been around baseball, so they don't know what signaling is all about.
Yeah.
But from net post to net post, you want to be really aggressive at the net. If you can get the ball above the level net, you poach. The poach doesn't have to be communicated. The poach is on if the ball is above the level net, you go. You go on a diagonal, and ideally what you're going to do is take the intercepting ball and hit it at the opposing net person's right hip if they're right-handed, left hip if they're left hip if they're left-handed, then you say sorry. So you put your hand up and wave so there's not a war on. But in doubles, you don't go around them, you don't go over them, you go through them. In high-level doubles, how many pegs are there? A lot of times, years ago, I don't know if they're doing it so much now, but the pros would get together and they'd have dinner afterwards, and whoever got the most pegs, the dinner was, they were on the receiving end, dinner was paid by the opposing team.
No, I think it's important for people to know that really the person that's closest to the net has precedence over anything from net post to net post if they can get there. Because they have the ball sooner, higher, and more potential angle.
Well, one of these days we'll have to interview Steve Denton, coach at Texas A&M, former world-class player. Tell stories just about Lendl. You could do that for a whole podcast.
Yeah.
The bet was on, Lendl. Let's see how many times we can hit each other. They were on opposite sides of the net. Why don't you start on the returner?
Where are we here? Yeah, so the returner, obviously, you want to make the return, and then we were just talking about how the serve partner, the person at the net, they're in a position to really finish the point, to be an aggressor. So you've got to find a way to keep it away from that person at the net. It's really basic. And then if the server is coming in, you've got to get it low to their feet. So those would be 2 real basics for the return, or 3, I guess. Make the return, but keep it away from the net person, and then try to make it so that if the person is coming in, they have to hit up, and then your partner, which we'll talk about, can then go for the fuzz sandwich, as Vic would say, Vic Braden.
One thing on the return is initially lob on the first ball, so you can get the opposing net person, the partner of the server, off of the net.
Get them off early.
You can go down the line.
Get them off the net early. Goodness.
Have them stand further back. Well, your options. You can occasionally, to keep the net person honest, is go down the line. A really good play off a weak second serve is just to drive the ball right at the net person.
Yeah. And
they're going to generally pop the ball up, especially if a player doesn't know how to hit a backhand volley when he comes right at you, you need to play a backhand volley, not a forehand volley. So they play a forehand volley, the elbows jam, racket face is open, and it's kind of like a 1-2 punch. Obviously, going cross court.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, early on, even in the warm-up, I mean, you can just see if your opponents can volley or not, but that's a good way just to test their volley. Kind of like in singles, if someone comes in, it's like, just make them volley, see if they can make a volley first. So in doubles, just hammer it right at them.
Yeah, so one of the 4 is, going cross court, that's the bread and butter, but the other 3 is go down the line to keep them honest from poaching, lob over the net person's head, pretty basic, or just drive it right at them.
Yeah.
With the partner of the returner, humility, they need to tell their partner, we'll get into that with formations, where I think most people playing doubles, they think the lineup, the serving team lines up exactly the same as the returning team.
Yeah.
And they don't know the difference.
Too close.
Where that's the next. Let's go to the partner of the returner. The partner of the returner doesn't stand halfway; they stand on the service line, which a lot of people think is halfway. Okay, the partner of the server is in the middle of the box. That's where they're going to stand. One step behind it. They hear the serve. They move in. Just move in. Take one split step. So they're coming out of the starter's blocks. They're ready to then go one way or the other. But the partner of the returner, we'll go through formations, but they traditionally, you're going to start on the service line.
Yeah.
They don't stand on the service line. They stand in the middle. And really what you need to do is be able to plug up the middle. The partner of the returner can hand signal that they're going to poach. They know that the return is going to be really good off the person's second serve. Serve's got a really weak serve. They can get the return down low. And that's when you know people really know how to play, when the partner of the returner is using hand signals.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it doesn't have to be hand signals. They can just communicate. They can just walk up and talk to each other.
Yeah.
The partner of the returner has to move according to the return. And you really want to stay away from head shifting, looking back to see what your partner's doing. You really know what the ball's doing. You really know what your opponents are doing by looking forward. If you look forward and the rackets are up, the ball's up. You look forward, your opponent's rackets are down, the ball's down.
Yeah. And then you can act accordingly. If it's down low, you're going to move in and look to poach. And if it's up high, you got to be careful. Hold your ground.
Let's go to formations, and we can add to the four positions on the return. For both players to stay back, and a lot of times, they stay back, but one player is not all the way behind the baseline. You really want to both be behind the baseline. If not, you're going to be caught in, which used to be referred to as no man's land. Now, politically correct, no person's land. Both players behind the baseline. I think of John McEnroe. I'm pretty sure it was the last Grand Slam he won, playing with Michael Steek. And his stubbornness, which is a trait of a great tennis player, have stubbornness work for you, is he finally called Michael Steek back, said, hey, stay back. I have a tough time getting the return cross court.
Yeah.
And when he finally did that, they broke serve. With high-level pro tennis, high-level college tennis, generally off the first serve, we just refer to it as defense. Both players stay back. They offset.
Yeah, offsetting.
This is for return formations. The conventional would be to be at the service line.
Yeah.
And one of the responsibilities, roles and responsibilities, is the partner of the returner is going to call the horizontal line, the service line. And they line themselves up at a diagonal. And it's not just so they can see the service line. They want to look right at the opposing net person.
Yeah.
To see what kind of play they're going to make. And they have to really make a reaction off of that. That's referred to as conventional.
Yeah.
And then one I mentioned earlier for the return is attacking. So you know that your partner is going to be able to hit a really offensive return, get the ball below the level net, force the other team to have an open racket face. So you actually move in.
Yeah.
So you stand in as the partner of the returner. You basically stand where you would be if you were the partner of the server.
About halfway up.
And you're going to look to move diagonally, and then intercept. And then if you're in a position where you can go right at the body, you're much better to go at the body. Points in three ways. Plus is a winner, minus unforced error, minus F. High-level doubles, almost every point ends as a forced error. Mm-hmm. Say, for example, someone's poaching. That's where math, angle the racket face, angle the racket path, the grip. Someone is poaching from the left side of the court. They're a right-hander. Their racket face is facing the wrong way, and they have to make the adjustment.
Yeah.
So when someone says, I'm just a tactical coach, I think there's a lot to be said for that. I think, Brad Gilbert would be someone. I'm speaking to Steve Denton. They know without knowing. They played so much tennis. But it does help out greatly if you're going to be a tactical coach that you know technique.
Yeah, and grips.
If you know technique, you know tennis math. Serving, 5 formations. The Australian.
We get your conventional, which we already kind of covered.
Well, yeah, the Australian is just the opposite of conventional. The conventional, where I think the returning team even serves in the conventional.
Yeah.
One player up, one player back. Mm-hmm. The Australian, you basically just reverse it. So you force the returner to go down the line instead of go cross court. You take the cross court returner away.
Yeah.
With the Australian formation.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
I think that's the first time I've ever sneezed on the podcast.
Gesundheit.
Could be. Gesundheit.
Gesundheit. I digress. I was once riding in a train in Germany, and there was just one other gentleman in the compartment, and he sneezed, and I said, Gesundheit. And he said, where are you from in America?
Yeah, that's the best.
I go, gee, I can't believe that. I thought I spoke German fluently.
You got to work on your German accent a little bit. Can't be as bad as Hamlin's, though. Hamlin, if you're listening to this, 25 years in Germany.
Du bist ein Idiot.
It's not the best.
Mark Hamlin.
Love you, though, buddy.
We'll get Mark Hamlin on the podcast. There's a guy.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
Anyway, for our listeners, Hamlin is someone that I've known since I was 9 years old. We used to grow up in hockey together, and he actually, I got him hooked on the tennis drug back in the heyday of the tennis boom, and he makes his living in tennis, has for a long, long time.
Rambo, stay on that mic. Give me a little Rambo.
Murdoch,
there you go.
I'm coming to get you.
There you go. Doubles,
offsetting, Billie Jean King, Nancy Ritchie's a serving team. This is a great story.
We covered Australian, right?
Yeah, it's a big, massive land down under. With, you stand on the opposite side. Ken McGregor. I'd have to confirm that, but to my knowledge, he's given credit for that.
But that's the serve partner.
Yeah. Partner, the net person stands on the opposite side.
Yeah. Force your opponent, change the angle.
And just about every formation, other than conventional, you want to serve from really close to the center mark. And if you're the returning team and people start using these different formations, best thing to do is offset. So if someone throws Australian at you, just offset immediately and then adjust from there.
Yeah.
But Billie Jean King won 20 Wimbledon titles. Great player. Used to love to watch her play. So she's playing with Nancy Ritchie, who's also a great player. Sister of Cliff Ritchie. Trying to think. I'll come up with it. It's a small town in West Texas that they're from. But what Billie Jean King did with Nancy is they both stayed back and they came in together because Ritchie was more comfortable coming in off an approach shot.
Right.
So they came in, to go like how Vic would do it, dun, 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 put his fingers up like this, and they would just come in as a wall.
Dun, 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 dun.
Another Vic Braden, when you're play offsetting and you're serving and your partner comes back and you say to your partner, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be up the net. And the partner says, I want to live. Some people serve, it's so bad, it's like throwing up a grenade and running underneath it. So if you have no serve, you're better off to stay further back.
If you serve and you run to the net and the ball hits you in the back of the head, you may want to stay back.
Coming back to the I formation, with Gonzalez standing in closer to the center mark, Jan Tiriac playing with young Vilas, the Romanian with the Argentine. When Tiriac was serving, he had Vilas get down in a sprinter stance, really close to the center line, actually at the center line, and then what we call a modified I that the pros do now.
Yeah,
it's almost like there's very little diagonal serve. They stand right by the tee line. They go straight up the middle.
Yeah,
and the serves are big, and they'll put their partner right in the middle.
Yeah.
So then young Vilas had the leg strength to come up. Then you have to communicate the shift. So the server needs to know, is their partner going right or going left? With the motion doubles, it's interesting. I was told by Craig Tiley, actually, we'll go through that, that the Woodies put this together. Then someone researched that, and then the Woodies didn't confirm. It wasn't yes, we did that all the time. I think of Paul Scarpa, who was at Furman. He did this all the time. And if you're going to do it, you have to have a rule book with you.
Tell our listeners who the Woodies are.
It is the Australian team, Mark Woodford and Todd Woodbridge. We're going to go through that lefty-righty combinations.
Yeah.
And they won a bunch.
Yep.
But with motion doubles, the rule book reads, like it's saying in singles, you can't say anything. But in doubles, you can communicate with your partner.
Yeah.
I mean, if you say things outwardly in singles, it's against the rules.
Yeah.
It's referred to as a distraction.
Hindrance, yeah.
But in doubles, say for example, you start off conventional, and right as the server starts their motion, they say shift.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of pro football, where the other team, say the quarterback comes up and the defense changes their formation.
Yeah.
So the quarterback calls an audible. So when people are running motion doubles, you're best to just both stay back. So you want to counter that with offsetting. So motion doubles, I think really most tennis players just need to play vanilla doubles. They make it too complicated for themselves.
Yeah.
But you could have the player, they start off and conventionally you say shift, they go to the opposite side, which would put them on the Australian side, and then they can stay poach or fake.
Yeah.
So you're creating movement at the net, makes it more difficult for the returner. You could line up in the opposite. You could line up Australian and then switch.
Yeah. When's the last time you saw that? I haven't seen it. I mean, I'm trying to think if I ever have seen it live.
No, that's where one of our former students, Craig Tiley, when he was at Illinois, he actually became the Davis Cup captain of South Africa. And John Lafendiaga, who trained with us when he was a junior, he made it to the point where, all these years later, he's coached Fed Cup and Davis Cup, but he was one of the players. And it was back in that era where some of that was done.
Yeah.
But Tiley started doing it in college tennis. And again, someone like Paul Scarpa. But it's something you don't see on a regular basis. Yeah. And that's where, if you're going to do it in a grassroots junior development program, you better have your rule book.
Exactly.
Because it is legal. You can do it.
I would guess even at the highest level, people, they're not aware of it.
Yeah.
But
that's what happened. It was actually Brian Clark, who owns a club in Cincinnati, great guy. Mm-hmm. And he asked, and that's where I got the information from with motion doubles. But Paul Scarpa saw one of our students on film one time, and he basically came like the next day to recruit him. And everybody loves Scarpa. He loved motion doubles. We did touch upon the modified eye. That's where the player, I'd say that's one of the biggest changes. Starts with Gonzalez. It forces play to the middle. Now, when someone's doing that, I think I come back to McEnroe again. Now, he was way up in age when he won his last ATP doubles match with Bjorkman. And what you do with the return is when they throw the eye at you, you offset, and you basically gun the ball right at the net person. Unless you could throw up a lob, but you don't see that much lobbing in pro tennis because the overheads are so good.
Yeah.
But just the opposite of junior tennis.
Right.
The overheads are not too good. But you go right at the person because you want the ball to come back to the middle. You go to the outside and they intercept.
Yeah.
So it's really a matter of it's a lot of physical contact. You got to really have quick hands. There's a lot of balls coming right at you in pro tennis.
I saw today I saw a few younger kids. They're probably 12, 13, 14. They were shadow swinging some overheads. This is another location. And two out of the four had severe palm up overheads, and I'm just going, well, it's going to be a struggle. You're going to miss that. Palm up, pull down.
Yeah, with 85% of players throughout their career have some version of palm up. With 1 year, we filmed 50 boys, 50 girls, incognito, USTA 12s. Over 90% had some form of palm up on their serve. Yeah. So close to Western grips on their forehand too.
Yeah.
Lefty righties, the forehand in the middle. And some of these teams, actually, the Bryan brothers, I know they've switched it up just to switch it up. With one thing about playing lefty-righty is every other game you're seeing a lefty-righty serve. But it's amazing in tennis history. McEnroe and Fleming, I think Peter Fleming's the first one to say this, is the greatest doubles team of all time is McEnroe and anybody. Obviously, it's very, very humble for him to say that. You got to love McEnroe. People start talking about, the Bryan brothers. And Mike, one when Bob was off with knee surgery. But people for years have said Bob's the best of the two Bryan brothers. It's too bad people have to have the conversation on the GOAT, greatest of all time. But so anyway, it came around to Johnny Mack, and he's not buying that the Bryan brothers played better doubles than he played. With Roach and Newcomb, we talked about that a little bit in our brain typing podcast. Is Harry Hopman? You got Roach, who's the introvert, Newcomb was the extrovert, and Hopman told Roach, let Newcomb think he's captain. But 16 majors. Let's go back to McEnroe. 7 for Fleming, 17 for McEnroe. Roach had 16 majors. Newcomb 24.
Yeah.
Narazilovin Shriver, lefty-righty, with 49 and 22.
Amazing.
The Woodies, Mark Woodford 17, Todd Woodbridge 22. And a bunch of gold medals for the players, the younger players of this group that are mentioned, because tennis was brought back to the Olympics in '84.
Yeah.
Todd Woodbridge, to me, not the biggest guy. He almost looked like a kid out there playing, but what great technique off the volleys.
Yeah.
The Bryan brothers, 23 and 22, gold medalists as well. With in club tennis, it's just the opposite. You'd want to have the lefty-righty. You put the forehands going to the outside.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's a fun,
because they're going to swing across their body and get it cross court away from the net person.
Here's a fun tidbit. ALTA, the Atlanta Tennis League.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's still large, but in the 80s, the book was as big as a big telephone book. Mm-hmm. And if you want people to win, I remember going back and forth training ALTA coaches. And what happened is Atlanta just grew and grew as far as suburbia.
Yeah, a lot of clubs.
The suburban sprawl.
Yeah.
And all these subdivisions have really nice tennis facilities. Mm-hmm. Sometimes as many as 8 courts, neighborhood courts. So, you take 2 right-handed players and you put them where they are on the baseline. One stands right in the middle. And then in the ad court, one is on the double sideline. And you say you are only hitting forehands. Yeah. You tell them you're not going to the net. If you really want to win, and we're saying 3-0 tennis, and even driving them nuts in the 3-5 leagues, if you're not going to the net, you're going to keep your palm up serve. Just put it right here, pizza position, pull down, get that serve in, aim to the middle of the box every time. It's like, ladies, do you want to win? I think that's one of the toughest jobs in tennis, being a club pro, and then you have to help the ladies team on who's playing with who. And it doesn't really matter. It does chemistry-wise. I'm wrong. It does chemistry-wise. But when it comes down to lefty-righty or techniques,
yeah.
So, a lot of times you want to have an aggressive player with a consistent player. So that's the best way to play with beginning doubles, is you just throw away all your principles. We're not going to teach you how to serve. We're not going to teach you how to volley.
Throw up some lobs for sure.
Just go to the net to shake hands and pick up balls. No lessons required. No clinics, even though people go to lessons and they go to clinics. It's like, you're not teaching me anything. Well, you're not listening to me anyway. Just do this, have some fun. Let's beat up on one back for a while.
No, that's the best.
One back, that only works if both teams stay back. One back will work against a one back team.
And that's done quite a bit these days.
Yeah, doubles is really, I think, it's becoming a lost art where
keep away singles.
With kids are freshmen in high school, they've never been on a team before. Now they're on a team, and doubles is important, and they want to win, so they play one back as a freshman, and then they continue to play that way. With easiest money in pro sports, Luke Jensen. I didn't say it.
Yeah,
Luke said it.
Luke said it. Luke, you said it.
Dual hand Luke. Easiest money in pro sports is women's doubles. Of course, he was a little chip on his shoulder because the distribution of money has not been fair to doubles. Singles players get the lion's share of the money. It's like 80-20.
Yeah. Big
and then the people
and the TV time as well.
In the doubles have to split the 20.
Yeah.
Toughest challenge in junior tennis, maybe all of tennis, if you serve and volley, is to find a partner who serves and volleys.
Right.
Serve and volley, that's becoming extinct. At the club level, playing one back, you can teach people to run the triangle. So Vandermeer used to call you just think of the T line, where the service line and the center service line intersect.
Yeah.
So when the ball goes past the net person retreats diagonally to the hot seat.
Yeah.
And then if their partner can get the ball past the net person, then they go forward towards the alley.
Yeah.
So then they try to poach. And then when they poach, they go in laterally. So now they retreat again back diagonally.
Yeah.
And now the ball goes by the opposing net person, they go back into the net post.
Yeah.
So it forms a triangle.
Yeah.
Also, most importantly, it creates movement. What you're doing when you teach people that, and I have taught that, you got to be a realist. You're teaching an adult clinic. Say, okay, if you do play one back, don't just stand here.
Just stand there.
But what you're doing is you're conceding the most difficult angle. So when you retreat to the hot seat, the area right smack in the middle of the court, the intersection of the center line and the service line, that you're giving away the outside of the court, that angle.
Yeah.
So just think when the ball is back, the net person's back. When the ball is up, the net person is up.
Yeah.
With
you're basically following the ball. I mean, up and back.
You move the ball. Yeah. The server serves first, so that where the triangle starts is okay. You start up because you're serving. They have to wait for the ball to bounce. So then you hope that you can poach. So you go over diagonally. You go diagonally to poach, but then you actually retreat back to the center mark, and that's one thing that you can do. Because coming back to the do's and don'ts clinic, you don't want to just sit in the chair and go, okay, it's not my turn to play. In one back doubles, it's like two games of half cross court singles.
Yeah, exactly.
And people just get neck exercises. It's not my turn. It's not my turn. It's not my turn.
Well, your whole thing is you want to, mess with your opponent. You want to get inside their head. So if you can move around at least a little bit and get in their head, keep them guessing on what you might be doing, then you're going to disrupt the signal from the brain to the muscles, make them miss.
Oh, and there are situations where one player, when they're serving, they'll serve and come to the net, and their partner serves and stays back.
Yeah.
So you can have an effort where half the time they're playing one back, the other half they're serving coming in.
Yeah.
One back, brain memory. It's understandable why people play that way because they have more confidence in their ground strokes than they do their volleys.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what we see in high level. It's not just women's doubles. I mean, in like we talk about the men's collegiate doubles, that the NCAA champions are playing one back. It's just that the skill to go forward isn't so much there anymore. Yeah,
no, we had players come and visit.
It's becoming a lost art.
Talked to one of our students today who's a pretty bright boy. He's going off to an Ivy League school, and going to change his flight. Pretty sure he's changed the flight so he can stay and watch the NCAAs. It's going to be played here at Lake Nona, 5.5 miles away at the USDA National Campus. It was 2 years ago, so the NCAAs were skipped last year based on the pandemic. 3, maybe 4 teams. I know you worked with Max Cressy. They won it. But in the last time they had the NCAAs, they only sent 8 teams. But they won the individual playing doubles. I think this time around, I could be mistaken, but they're just having the team format. I don't think they're having the individual format because of the pandemic. I have to double check that. But anyway, very few teams in college tennis now have 2 out of 3 teams going to the net. I'd say if it's take 5-year increments. It's went to the point where, okay, now at one point everybody's serving going in men's tennis, but then there was just the number 3 doubles playing 1 up, 1 back. Yeah. But I would say now it's more like 2 teams are playing 1 up, 1 back, and I wouldn't do it that way. I would have freshmen come in and say, hey, it's going to add your singles game. We're going to play doubles the right way. You're going to be here 4 years. Yeah. And, Bill Tilden, tennis players are born out of defeat. If you lose the right way, you'll end up winning. Virginia Wade, beautiful tennis leads to winning tennis. Winning tennis doesn't lead to beautiful tennis. Yeah. Some stories about 1 up, 1 back. So I lived in Tyler, Texas for 10 years. Bob Faulkner loves tennis. Bob loved Tyler too. Loved Tyler, loved tennis. Today there's a park that was built by him and with his funds, mostly his funds, and named after him. He'd come and see me each spring because I was working with a lot of kids who played high school tennis. And he would just plead with me. I'd just be very polite. And he kept telling me that girls cannot go to the net in doubles. And the second 5 years I was in Tyler, our students won more state titles. It's high school state tennis. That was back in the day when everybody played, than Dallas and Houston combined.
They played high school tennis, right?
Yeah, they played high school tennis. It's sad that now, the individual's bigger than the program. A lot of kids are not playing. It's a short season. Even if a young kid is homeschooled, their parents are taxpayers, public high school, they certainly could still play high school tennis. Yeah. So one year, Dave Anderson, who we had on a podcast, so he was running one junior program in neighboring town, Longview. But we had Julie Scott, Lissa Kimmel, Carmen Clark, and Laura Barrow. They all played each other in the Texas 5A state final. Mm-hmm. We had a bunch of players win high school state tournaments. And I remember Bob came out and told me I was right. The girls can go to the net. Yeah. There was one situation. It was Gary Kimmel's father, Lissa Kimmel, and she's taking lessons. And we were just emphatic. If you in our training, you cannot serve and stay back. Although, like just the other day, I had both players stay back. So you got to have your players get used to playing against both back. Have your players get used to playing against people who are 1 up, 1 back. Mm-hmm. They should just recognize once they're playing 1 up, 1 back, second serve, you're hitting a return cross court and you're just taking the net. Yeah. And it's like Braden's line, hey, stupid. So Lissa Kimmel, she went on to play at the University of Illinois, played for Jennifer Roberts, who we've mentioned many times. But the father met with the high school coach, and the Mexican standoff says, no, she wants to play college tennis. And in college tennis, at this time, they were going to the net. Yeah. She played with a girl named Lindsay Nemo from England, and they did quite well together in college tennis. But so she didn't play high school tennis for a year. That's a great story. She didn't play because the high school coach was saying, no, she has to stay back. And but after a year went by, the high school coach said, hey, and, so she actually was in Texas at the time. It was a big deal where she won the state doubles title. Yeah. At that time in Texas, there were 17 million people. So to have 4 girls in the same final. Chad Burial, I worked with Chad 5 years, and we had an NJC tennis team. Couldn't have done this if it was NCAA, but because of the rules, the girls practiced with us. Mm-hmm. So I had a tennis school in Tampa. You know, we certainly had rules. You had to have a palm down serve and you had to go to the net. Chad had autonomy.
Those are good rules.
Chad had autonomy. Say that word, autonomy. But not that first year so much. He had been a college student, a college senior at Ferris State.
Yeah.
Year before. So anyway, team wins nationals. They win. Players are all American. They win. The doubles title, and
the serving.
I think they were in the finals 4 years, and they won it once. That's not bad for the second 5 years of a 10-year run on that as well.
Yeah.
But with and for us, it was part-time pay and full-time work. But Chad would stay in touch with his players. They'd go on and play at other schools after 2 years of junior college. And he's told me that not one player that he coached for 2 years and converted into a serve and volleyer, when they went elsewhere, they were told they had to stay back.
Yeah.
I remember working, we talked about Maru Yamahiro-Michi-san at the TTC in Japan. It had a lot to do with their training program years ago. And a gal who played really well. She played at the University of Georgia, great athlete. And she could serve and play at the net. But she played 4 years of college tennis, serving and staying back. Serving and volleying is not as complicated as doing backflips on a balance beam. I used to say that to people that would tell us, I think women should be jumping up and down. What do you mean a woman can't serve and volley? And if a woman can do a backflip on a balance beam, they can come to the net behind their serve.
It's interesting. I think of Lisa Raymond. Lisa Raymond, I mean, singles and doubles.
Oh, she's in my notes. Lisa Raymond,
it's just like,
University of Florida. I actually spent a couple of days with the University of Florida when she was on the team. Andy Brandy's the coach, and I remember that those girls had to have half a bagel. I mean, anyway, they did very well with under Andy's leadership. The Bryan brothers call her money. They used to the Bryan brothers used to put all their money in one account. But I think it was Bob Bryan. I bet it was Bob Bryan. But I get the senior moment. 99% sure it was Bob Bryan. Is that he would tease his brother. He goes, all that money's not yours. 50-50 is not fair, because he had won some mixed titles with Lisa Raymond.
Yeah.
University of Florida has gone on to win national championships on the women's side here in recent years. I say recent when you get to be almost 70. But I just don't understand. They play one up, one back doubles. I think every incoming freshman at the University of Florida, okay, we're going to watch film of Lisa Raymond. She was top 10 in the world. She had a really good topspin backhand. She didn't hit it enough. But, I mean, she's a really good singles player as well.
Yep.
But, I mean, I think she played till she was 42. I mean, she probably could roll out of bed and play at 52, the way she played doubles. But that's the way it should be played.
Yeah.
Sebastian Corda, great technique. Loved watching him play. He had a great run recently in Miami.
Yeah.
I just watched him play one service game of doubles, playing with Michael Moe, and I was disappointed to see him serve and stay back. Because I think with his dad and old school tennis, a little bit of regress palm up at the top. He's great player. Overall, we talk about the GreatBase. We could call it GreatBase solid fundamentals.
Yeah.
He just hits the ball so cleanly.
Yeah.
Clean means efficient, least amount of moving parts. He doesn't have multi-segmented ground strokes.
Yeah. It's right there.
Tsitsipas, a couple of years ago at the Italian Open, he played doubles, and people thought that because he was doing it, other people would do it. But anyway, that's just one thought. Here's a myth on return of serve. Who should play the ad court? The myth goes all the way to the Grand Slams. The deuce court player, Dick Braden, the deuce court player will make the ad court player famous. The deuce court player plays more balls. Why it's a myth is that typically in every level of play, the player with more experience, the more successful player plays the ad court. Like that's the side that's going to determine whether you win the game or not. It's actually the deuce side that determines whether you're ad in or ad out.
Yeah.
But in the deuce court, the point starts there. So you and I are playing doubles. You're playing the deuce court. I'm playing the ad. First game, we play 5 points. That means you've taken 3 returns. I've taken 2. Comes back for us to return again. You're taking your 4th return. I'm still at 2. So that's one reason. Another reason is 85% of players are right-handed. 85% of players want to run around their backhand. As they run around their backhand, they're late to hit their forehand. They pull their forehand horizontally across their body. It goes cross court to the deuce court. 85% of players are right-handed, and 85% of players easily have been mistaught the volley. Severe continental grip, elbow in, and the racket face is just glued, going to the deuce court.
One direction.
If back in the day, especially when players played one-handed backhands, that inside-out return from the deuce court to righties.
Yeah.
And then it's lefties know they live in the right-handers world. They have to just flip it. But it's just, that's a myth you see all the time. I mean, it's the only exception to the rule where you won't see the male and mixed doubles in the
It would be interesting to get some stats on some doubles matches with, the deciding point now, where okay, maybe the person in the ad side is taking the deciding point.
Well, it mixed doubles, they go gender to gender.
Yeah, so it just, obviously I'm sure it's still tipped towards the deuce side, but it would just be interesting to chart a few matches and see.
Well, our podcast where we talked about Bill Jacobson and his CT 120.
Yeah.
Certainly it was much easier with an electronic device to chart 2 players. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you want to chart to get the objective data on how to practice.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Now, college coaches, this is an idea for college coaches, is you have challenge matches. And that's something that's gone away too much. Where
we talked about that in the college tennis.
But having a playoff on one-on-one doubles cross court, Ed Crafts has a great game called one-on-one doubles.
Yeah.
Basically, it's just ghost doubles.
Yeah.
There should be a line for developmental tennis. There should be a line all the way down the court, not just the center service line, but have it go all the way to the baseline. So then 2 people could go out and play doubles.
Yeah.
And hey, it's great. There's a positive side for pickleball because maybe some people playing pickleball will get active and get going and play some tennis. But with doubles, macho male ego.
Is that a thing?
That is a thing. So I've got the ad court. But you could have a playoff, deuce court to deuce court, ad court to ad court. What happens in mixed doubles, so the man in the ad court, he'll pull across his body and get lucky and get the ball to go away from the net person and say, see, honey?
Yeah, I got it.
And then the woman does that and the ball goes right to the opposing net person.
Yeah.
Doubles is very much like little kid soccer. You heard me say that, where 22 people on the field, only 2 people know where to be as the goalies.
Yeah.
Single strategy is pretty messed up where, kids are running back to the fence going, hey, you're going the wrong way.
Yeah.
They're always going the wrong way. They're backing up and letting the ball bounce above their head, using the wrong grip, and oh boy. But once you put 4 people on the court, it gets worse. It's just absolutely amazing how people are playing with, and then they're locking themselves in too, hardwired to play the wrong way because they're developing the wrong instincts.
Yeah. Used to be kind of a weekly basis. Now it's maybe monthly or bi-monthly, but I will text your son, Connor, and just tell him that it's not too late, that he could come back and play Wimbledon doubles. And
I put a few things down about Connor in my notes as well as other players. He was successful playing doubles, All-American college, and people would tell him he was a great doubles player, and he'd say, well, great line. He goes, well, I know where to stand.
Exactly. I
used to say, well, you tell him where you tell. That's great, but you could add to it. I know where to stand. I know how to hang onto the racket.
Yeah.
You could tell by just looking at somebody's ready position.
Yeah.
If they're hanging on to a semi-Western grip, the racket face is closed, the racket's not centered, it's not in a neutral position.
Obviously the serve and volley skills, but then the return skills too, the system for the return where you can have a simple return.
Yeah, short, compact motion.
Yeah, takes about really.
In relationship of strokes, in relationship of spins, ready position, unit turn. It's like a volley, and Volley's almost like you're just clapping hands on the forehand side. The ready position is the volley. The ready position is the backswing for the forehand ground stroke. It's just like you're going right around a beach ball. The best returners have the short, compact motion.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. Where a lot of the best players now, they don't play doubles because of the way the money's distributed. That's too bad that it's so one-sided. I think it'd be better if the best players played doubles as well. Poaching, to hunt another person's territory, to go. As soon as you have the opportunity, you analyze to anticipate. As soon as you know that you can get the ball above the level net, the hand signal, I'm going to poach, stay, or fake. Braden used to like to have people play sets where you poach every time. So the return is going cross court. You can even make it mandatory. Return has to go cross court. Yeah. You even make it where it's a second serve and the return's going cross court, and then you have to poach because kids are afraid of the ball.
Yeah.
And then what'll happen is the reflexes of the opposing net person is going to get better and better because what you do is you poach and you go right at them, and they need to make a reflex play.
Yeah.
Speaking of my son, college tennis, Ohio State, Ty Tucker likes to have that first volley go right at the opposing net person. And I remember Chris Garner, who brought his kids to us, he now coaches at Navy. But he coached with Ty, and he told my son, he goes, it'll be great for your doubles because in practice, you're standing right there, you're going to get ball after ball just gunned right at you.
Yeah. I've seen that.
With our course, Tennis Intelligence Applied, it's a little outdated. Tell us a little about the film work. It wasn't done properly?
Well, I mean, when was that filmed? In the early 2000s. I think tucking your sweatpants into your socks could have been still a cool thing.
Sandals?
Yeah, the socks and sandals. That was kind of a.
How about the wire hanging out?
Wire hanging out.
The camera kind of angled the wrong way with the sun.
The SD. I think it was SD footage. It might even been film, but no, it was SD.
I did that with Miran Mann. He was an intern when we did that. Canadian coach.
You had the Krajicek hat, which you're just trying to keep the sun off you.
With the film, Tennis Intelligence Applied.
But the information is what's important there. It's timeless.
There's 365 clips.
Yep.
And here, very quickly, we'll go through these. There's almost 30.
We're not going through 365 clips. just
364.
So you know, yeah.
But I'll go through it fast. There's a short film on formations. There's one on roles and responsibility, communication, one up, one back, shift, poaching, who takes the most returns, organize the volleys, organize a serve with a split step. Here's one to slow down on. Throw, catch, hot potato. Mm-hmm. How do you teach kids to play doubles?
Yeah, I like that one.
You don't just say, go play doubles. It's like, no.
Yeah.
So you take the Welby Van Horn balance formation. You teach people how to throw a ball. That's how you teach people to serve. Mm-hmm. And today, with kids with all electronic gadgets, they really need to work on hand-eye. They got to be able to catch. So a player will throw. There's no
unbelievably so. Sorry to stop you there. I mean, I've seen some kids. It's like, what?
Yeah,
you got to know how to throw and catch. You can twiddle your thumbs.
No, the telephone's like a third arm.
Holy moly!
Coach K, Duke basketball. Kids are through nutrition, through fitness, they're stronger, but they're not more athletic than they used to be.
Yeah.
So throw, catch, and teach them how to catch. We tell people. I learned this from Brandon Flanagan. 2 thumbs together, 2 fingers together. How they teach people to catch football in the NFL. Mm-hmm. So throw, catch, 1, 2, 3 split step, and then when they catch it, every other time you got to catch it under, and that's where it's a hot potato.
Yeah.
And the serve goes cross court, take the return cross court, and even take the first volley, but there's no rackets. They're going to toss it cross court. So you just drill that to little kids. They're at the service box. Okay, 4 and 4, you're going to throw, catch. And it's 1, 2, 3 split step, and their hands are out in front. And then how you go from there is you add a steering wheel. So you have kids hanging out of the racket like a steering wheel, and they're just going to be in front pushing it.
Yeah.
So then you say, okay, and you can do this with ping pong paddles. You do it with a foam ball. But only one team has rackets. So the team that throws, the serving teams, they're the human ball machine. They have no racket.
Yeah.
So they throw, but on the other side, they have to throw to the forehand and toss to the forehand volley. Mm-hmm. And then you have it be partner tennis where they're not competing against each other. It's like how many volleys can you get? And they're ready position, split stepping, they're moving their feet.
Yeah.
That's called build a skill. And then you say, okay, now we're going to do it on the backhand side. And then you get to the point where you do mini tennis, just touch the ball, no winners. But you can't just tell kids, go play doubles.
Yeah.
That would be like telling a 12-year-old, why don't you just go take the car and drive down the freeway? I mean, you got to teach people how to play.
I used to do that.
You did. Down the freeway.
Well, maybe not.
12.
Maybe not 12.
And all the transition balls, that's where they have a place. I think they're great training tools. You get to the point where it's one bounce doubles.
But like the whole thing, with that too, is it's simple, fun, it's action packed, and then you're building the instincts.
Yeah, and these podcasts, you take Peter Burwash, the personality of the pro. You got to sell it. You got to say, okay, we're having fun. You got to be able to do this, and you got to pump the dream. You're going to be able to play big time doubles.
Yeah.
Instead of no, you're doing it the wrong way. For me, coming back to Braden, when you watch people hit a ball poorly, it's like fingernails across the blackboard.
Yeah.
Maybe it's squeaky balloons, something that really annoys you. You just go, I can't stand that.
Yeah.
For me, it's just bad for my health to watch a kid hit the ball poorly. Yeah. And then, that's where by training with Braden, you're the same. It's like, you just walk by and see it in a second.
Well, and I've looked at a fair share of social media and online content over the last year or so, and I'm telling you, there's been some bouts of depression.
No, so much bad information is going out so fast. I mean, the USTA in this country, governing body of tennis, they do it with umpires. There should be a way to, just like they do in the medical world,
criminal activity.
Yeah, it's criminal. No, it really is. I mean, the way people are taught, and it's, I've heard one club owner, it's dirty money.
I think you said it once too, and then we'll get back onto the doubles. But it's like you're messing with this kid's life. You're messing with this kid's life.
Well, in the 90s, where there's such an emphasis on self-esteem, when you get into brain typing, I think, okay, kids need a little bit of tough love. There's, the participation trophy. Again, we went overboard on self-esteem.
Yeah.
And that backfired. But with, a kid's confidence level, when, a kid has a sport, it shouldn't change their self-worth. Like, I'm a better person because I'm a better player. But, then the parents, they're investing money. And it becomes a lifestyle, taking your kid to tennis, and it's really consumer beware. It's really apparent when you watch people play doubles. Yeah, it's just really bad. Yeah. It's so much fun to play doubles the right way. I mean, can you imagine having?
It's fun to watch too.
Yeah, you imagine having the avoidance of, I'm playing doubles, but I can't go to the net.
Yeah,
I'm playing doubles, but I don't volley and I don't hit over it.
Yeah.
And it's, we can laugh a little bit, but that's the definition of comedy is tragedy with time. How can we laugh at it? Yeah. So going through these again, 30, there's rackets clashing, going to the middle, and drills, rally 6 to the middle. You start off, both players back at the service line, hit 6 balls to the middle, then come in, hit 6 volleys to the middle. Started off partner.
Yeah.
Where it's teamwork out there. Then you get the point, okay, let's back up a little bit, and then you play. And the next thing you know is you could have 8 people on the court, put 2 people on the baseline, each baseline, 4 people come to the net, and just play a point out, next 4 go. And I think on rainy days, there's always situations where you have to be able to successfully put a lot of people on one court.
Yeah.
But if they were taught in the beginning, you can have much better group dynamics. We use peer teaching, backwards and forwards and upside down, inside out. That really helps with group dynamics. Mm-hmm. It's no problem for us to be someplace, have a tennis court, and we have to give the tennis court up, say at a tournament, you had your practice. And no, we practice right here on the field.
Yeah, exactly.
Capture the net, the drill, to the middle. So you have 4 players on the court. You feed the ball to the team in the middle. They're at both one team's on the baseline, one team's up at the net. And I know recently I think you made a great call with this, is having players start at the 10 and under line, so they have that forward momentum.
Yeah.
We've done it before where they just have to start at the service line. So the first ground stroke goes to the middle, first volley goes to the middle, then you play it out. And that's really doubles, to the middle.
Yep.
You can do that where you put 10 balls on one side, 10 balls on the other, and you don't have to have a coach feeding it.
Yeah.
One of the clips is on the Peter Burwash 3 balls, 4 players volleying with 3 balls.
Mm-hmm.
Heads up doubles, you're behind the court. After 1 point's played, you just quickly put another ball in play. You got to be careful that no one gets hurt.
Yeah.
But they just know heads up, and it could be a second, third ball, so they play more points.
Yeah.
Because it takes so much time to get ready to serve and return. Mm-hmm. Scramble doubles is a great drill if people have been taught how to hit the ball. So the coach just stands at the side of the court, and as soon as the point's over, you feed another ball in play.
Yeah.
And typically what you want to do is feed the ball to the person who just missed. So it really helps with mental toughness. There's no time to self-destruct.
Yeah.
And it just really teaches people, as a good doubles team, you're going to be 12 feet apart. Court's 36 feet wide. So you shift up and back, side to side, crisscross.
I like doing that where with scramble doubles where you just feed it to where they're vulnerable. Whatever team's vulnerable, or find a vulnerable spot.
Oh, there's an art.
Make them adjust.
There's an art to feeding balls. I mean, there's so many different ways to feed balls. I think at Robert Lansdorp, I think at Harry Hobbin, but just ways to feed balls. And yeah, so if the kids, if a kid's got a weak backhand, you just make them hit backhand after backhand after backhand. Exactly. 3-player doubles used to tease people in Canada. They used to call it Canadian doubles. They used to say that's because there's only 3 players in Canada. We can't do that now. Some people will say there's better players in Canada than the U.S. Ouch. But it's interesting that in a club situation where people are looking for a fourth, they just can't play unless they have a fourth. Mm-hmm. Well, you can play where one player just stays in the deuce courthouse. And that's how you just call it. You stay in the deuce courthouse. We get all balls to the deuce courthouse. Yeah. And the other side of the court is the ad courthouse. And with that, so the two together, 2 and 1 is 3. The 2 are going to the 1 player deuce court. Or you could play to the ad court. Mm-hmm. You could have 3 players on the court and play king of the court playing ghost doubles.
Yeah.
So it's 1-on-1 doubles and winner stays, that type of thing.
Right.
5 players. This is great for people who are in the indoor business, and people will, unlike Florida, people play more tennis in the snowbanks of this country than they do in Florida, because Floridians are like, it's just like the beach. Yeah, I'll go to the beach, but it's there, so they never go.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you're down here for 1 week on vacation in February, I'm going to the beach.
Yeah.
So a lot of times in Florida, people drive by tennis courts. I'll play next week. I'll play next week. Right. But up north, people will sign up for every Tuesday night for 32 weeks. I'm playing indoor tennis. Mm-hmm. So it's the same foursome, and it's a good way for the owners of indoor clubs to say, okay, let's create some lesson revenue, and then you have a 5th person go out and say, okay, because you can have more flow with 5 people playing doubles than you can with 4 because of the picking balls up. So you could rotate every 4 points. You could have the pro just be the person who stays on one side, and then you rotate. You take half the time play deuce court, play half the time play ad court, and you're giving tips out all the time. You don't stop play. They get to play more tennis.
Yeah.
But maybe they would do that 4 times out of the 32 weeks. 6 players actually playing 3-on-3 rotating can play more points if you chart it. They play more points if 2 players are playing against 2 players.
Yeah.
It's just play a point, play a point, play a point.
Yeah, a lot of people call that triples.
Yeah, but with triples, back in the 70s, people were trying to get 3-on-3 playing against each other. Mm. This is just 2-on-2.
Yeah, but you just rotate.
But you rotate, and you rotate every point regardless.
Yeah.
I mentioned 8 players. That's one of the clips on our Tennis Intelligence Applied. Ghost doubles, 1-on-1. I remember watching Bob Hewitt and Fru McMillan play. My brother was the assistant coach of the Rangers, Felt Forum, the auditorium next to the Garden. And it was a couple of years where they had the Masters. So I went, and those guys were in their 40s and among the best in the world. Fru McMillan, two-handed volleys on both sides. Mm. But you have to serve and volley. You can do it where crush and rush, both are coming to the net.
Yeah.
It's just, if you want to get some insight on doubles, is you go to our old course. It's on our website. It's free.
Yeah.
Dennis Vandermeer used to do it where you add a player. First, you teach the server. Everybody's okay. Everybody serve 1, 2, 3 split step. Work on the return. Dennis was a genius where he would teach people the service motion. So okay, now you know how to throw. Now you can hit serve. Now you can hit overhead. We teach the volley, and you say, the ground stroke. It's not that much different than the volley. You just turn and then you go underneath, and then right away he'd have these match simulated clinics. Dummy doubles is fun.
Yeah,
where you have people start. And you have, say, 5 or 6 people. You could do it in a clinic saying, okay, let's start the points. And people don't even know where to stand. You're standing in the wrong place. You're standing in the wrong place.
Yeah. Bob, you're out. Susan, you're in.
Yeah, they haven't hit a ball.
Yeah. Oh, you're standing in the wrong place. And it's really fun.
Then with, say, the returner. It's like, okay, everybody's set. But no, then the partner of the returner, they need to ask the returner, can you get the return cross court? And if they don't ask them, you're out.
Yeah.
So you go through like 20 questions before they've even hit one ball.
Yeah.
I used to call this Bud Collins, a late, great Bud Collins, a journalist, TV commentator. Freeze. When the point's over, hold your position, and then just freeze. When the point's over, where are you standing?
Yeah.
Where are you standing?
Yeah.
Interesting, having grown up playing hockey, defensemen are supposed to stay together. You're not supposed to be split. If you're like a wall going back, you want to hold the blue line and make the play there. But same thing is, are you side by side with your partner? So much scrambling. In singles, you see it all the time. When a kid makes a mistake and they're running all over the place, it's because they tactically made a wrong shot selection.
Yeah.
3-zone is the name of a drill that they use at the Brookhaven tennis facility, Dave Anderson's place. It's called other names: tennis Olympics, tennis jail. It's often used the last day of a clinic. It's the last drill of a clinic, an after-school practice session. Kids love it. And happy, busy, good. It's like, really? Again? Yeah. So I traveled so many places to train tennis staffs, and the drill is really known by everybody. So college teams even use this as a way to warm up. But at Anderson's place, it's part of the culture. He teaches people how to hit the ball well, and he gets the juniors to play with the adults. So very quickly, it's just 2 players on one side, and then you can have, say, 4 players, 6 players on the other side. Goes very quickly. And there's a lot of little things to do each drill properly, but you feed an approach shot, they play it out. Now, then they tag up if they win off the approach shot. Then you feed a high ball, they play an approach volley, you play it out.
Right.
They win that, you tag it up, then you feed an overhead.
Yeah.
If they win that, then you get to go to the other side.
Yeah.
And people love it.
Love it, yeah.
But if they have no strokes, it's just organized chaos.
Organized chaos.
And typically when you see that at an indoor practice session, everybody's on one court at the end, they're loving it, and there's like, say it's a 4-court clinic, and you see 3 empty tennis courts. And they could do the drill for half an hour. Yeah. There's 3 empty tennis courts and people go, it's like, are you kidding me? I grew up where 3 older brothers, and my father was a hobby coach. Is that a lot of conversations on how a hockey coach would use the ice surface, because it's very expensive. What are you going to do? You only have practice for an hour, hour and a half. What are you going to do with your players? With McEnroe, Edberg, both are number 1. Billie Jean King, back in the day, many things she's fought for and won, made progress, made a contribution to society in so many ways. But she wanted to have boys and girls play together in the 12s and even 14s, but just even up to the 12s, because you go to a 12 and under tournament, the best girl can generally beat the best boy. But just, comes down to emotional control. But Billie wanted to have more emphasis on doubles. She's still trying to have tennis become a team sport. She hasn't given up on the WTT, World Team Tennis. With, I know Bobby Curtis in Florida one time, I believe it was 15%. They tried to weight the ranking. They tried to have one weekend of every month just be for doubles. So there's been some efforts put forth. I don't think there's been enough guts where there's been enough emphasis on doubles as far as rankings.
Yeah.
I mean, you never hear anyone talk about their doubles, UTR doubles rating.
Not too often. Actually, not ever.
With so Borg, he wins Davis Cup in '75, but because of the money coming in, he specialized in, but he could play doubles. Connors won Wimbledon in the U.S. Open. Federer and Nadal both have gold medals. With high school tennis in Texas, they stopped this at one time, and I guess now it's reinstated, is they actually have mixed doubles. It's part of high school tennis. We talked a little bit about the distribution of money for doubles, and mixed doubles it's even less than doubles. And mixed doubles isn't played very often.
Yeah.
With the Hopman Cup is a good effort to, but that's been dropped, right? I'm not sure, but
yeah, I don't think so.
No,
I feel like
I have to double check on that.
Maybe they're calling it a different name, but pretty sure that's still going.
But with today, mixed doubles is still the best way to. People call it straight doubles, straight up, go to the net. I think you're seeing it more and more, where it's even in regular men's doubles. Women's doubles was there first, where it's more one up, one back. This was mentioned on a previous podcast. Catherine Rinaldi, Vince Van Patten, Jimmy Connors, Chris Everett. Go to YouTube, plug their 4 names in. 1987, and I don't think anybody would argue that this looks like a lot better doubles than what you're seeing now.
Yeah.
With let's do this with part 1. We'll just go through a few names. And with each name, we can teach some different points. Dennis Vandermeer with get people right away to play. With resort teaching. For years ago, people just took private lessons. And the only time juniors went to camp was in the summertime. No one homeschooled.
Yeah.
And there weren't really junior programs. You took a private lesson.
Right.
I think of someone like a Jimmy Everett, Chris Everett's father. But it certainly helped me out with my journey in tennis. I want to learn from Dennis Vandermeer. I want to learn from Vic Braden, people like that, is they were teaching adults. Because adults would go on a vacation. And it was taught, so at a resort setting. But with doubles is if you can say, okay, you have to come in behind your serve, you have to come behind your first ground stroke, but you have to come in.
Yeah.
And you create that. That's where that came up quite a bit with PBI and Peter Burwash as being creative, is force them to play. I mentioned like one bounce doubles.
Yeah.
With automatic return cross court.
Right.
With make the first 3 shots and then play it out. Partner tennis.
Yeah.
And then, or non-competitive tennis, or partner to opponent. It's non-competitive to competitive. First 3 shots are non-competitive, then play it out.
Yeah. Yeah. You just set people up for success. I mean,
yeah. Dennis Vandermeer is that, with, you want to have people hit overheads. Make it a game. 2 people on one baseline, 2 people on the other baseline. Throw a lob up, and it's John's turn, and then it's Sally's turn. But after each overhead's hit, let it bounce, hit an overhead, play it out.
Yeah.
And then get to the net.
Yeah.
Braden's favorite drill is one player on the center of the baseline, other player on the center of the baseline. You feed the ball right at each other, and you just go right at each other.
Yeah.
I asked the kid the other day, I said, why was Vic Braden's favorite drill? And, it's reaction time and this and that. So I asked one kid, why don't you like to drill? And he just looked at me and goes, I could get hurt. Well, get the racket back in the center position. Bethany Maddox Sands, when she was a beginner, she worked with a coach that we trained by the name Mike Larshide.
Yeah.
You can see when she plays singles, she plays all over the court, but you can see basic training within her game. She's a very good role model for how to play doubles the right way. And I hate to be doom and gloom, but there's less and less. I think at Graydon Oliver, I worked at the former Seguzo Bassett Tennis Academy in Boca Raton, Florida. And Dave Anderson actually worked with him more than I did because I was off the court. Anderson called him Hollywood. He was really in to having good form. In a very short period of time, he changed his strokes. You got to be 29 in the world. He won 4 tournaments, 4 titles. It's not easy to win 1 title, let alone play 1 ATP match. But what translates into playing really good doubles is having really good form.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have less and less time to hit the ball as you go forward.
Yeah.
When I think of Great and Oliver, if people watch Raven Klaasen, if they saw Great and Oliver hit the ball and they saw Raven Klaasen hit the ball, it looks like a carbon copy of Ditto.
Yeah, a good connection there.
Raven spent 5 years with us, so many stories. One trip in making it to the top, I mean, he's been ranked 7 in the world. He had 3 knee operations and wasn't sure that he was going to be able to even play. Thought his chances might be over. He got the 2 major finals. But really what helped him is Eric Buderak. Eric Buderak knew of Raven's athletic ability, his professionalism, and Eric gave Raven a shot. They got to the finals. They had beat the Bryan Brothers of the Australian Open. It's a great story on the internet with just put Eric Buderak TED Talk. And at one time he was a tourist in the stands, no thought of ever playing the Australian Open.
Yeah.
I've only met him once or twice. I know people really like Eric. I know that Raven spoke so highly of working with him, said that gave him a lot of advice for what to do with his career afterwards, after playing. But if Raven didn't get the invite from Eric, he may never have got out of the challenger level. It's very, very difficult the way the points are set up. Federer doesn't really like it, and people listen to Federer on so many points, tennis would be better off. Is you double the money and you double the points pretty much from round to round.
Right.
So people can have, that's where it's tough for people to retire because it's like the money's easy, and if you have 2 good tournaments, you can stay at the top.
Yeah. Get a lot of points.
I know my son, he figured that out, and it's a little discouraging. Like, how can you break in? Raven's very humble, not too good on Sundays. He lost in 2 tour finals. Lost in 2 Grand Slam finals. He lost 7-5 in the 5th at Wimbledon. He was the one who lost his serve. But when he was playing with Buderak in the Australian Open, certainly we were always all pulling for Raven. I remember he had a chance to break back, get back on serve, and he hit a backhand volley into the net. But he used to cut down severely, left elbow collapse. We have this all on film.
Yeah, it's all on film.
And a lot of stress, and people revert back to the old. I had this down. My son Connor, one time he won 3 consecutive futures playing with 3 different partners. Great and Oliver had a very similar background where he just won at the futures level. I wish he had a chance to play with Raven. My son, he didn't really, I'd say, have the wheels of foot speed for singles, but you have to have hand speed. You have to have hand speed, but also to make it in singles, doubles, to make it in pro tennis, it's a war of financial attrition. It's not too glamorous.
Yeah.
That makes me think of Austin Krajicek, another person that we've worked with. We've worked with quite a few people who have won NCAA doubles titles, and it's been pretty much on the men's side, 1 out of 4 of the top doubles players in the world played college tennis. When young guys are out playing the futures, they have no coach. I used to tell my son, just ask the guy you're practicing with at the end, let's just play 1 game each of ghost doubles. But typically what happens, they don't have a coach, and you hear this comment, I'm good. Yeah. You're good?
Good. Yeah, I'm good.
But Austin Krajicek, easy guy to get along with. He's a lefty. Right now he's 35. He's only born in 1990, so hopefully he can stay healthy and make some serious money at the end of his career here. Certainly the pandemic didn't help anybody. Yep. I think at Krajicek, as a lefty, I would have thought that people would have asked him sooner to have a shot to play doubles at a higher level, but they don't because of the points. Raven has been dropped twice because his serve's not big enough. Getting older, problem with the shoulder, whatever.
Yeah.
But the reason someone like, my son just looked, well, how could I break in? I have no points. Who's going to ask me to play? And that's not really the best mindset to have for that, but it's realistic.
Yeah, because people week to week, it's like, hey, no offense, but I got to get into the tournament.
No. So like at Indian Wells, people come outdoor. They come from indoor tournaments, and Indian Wells it's a 10-day tournament. So let's go out to California for 2 weeks. The weather's great, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place. And the singles players take priority over the doubles players. Yeah. So if a doubles player is ranked, like say Austin, 35 in the world, but a singles player is ranked 34, they have priority.
Yeah.
So I don't make I don't make the rules, but it seems like the people who are playing doubles should be rewarded.
Yeah.
Just there should be a way to get everybody to play doubles instead of having these people just drop in and say, "Well, I want to play now."
Yeah.
But with I know in a final, Austin, I think he's won 4 or 5 titles, but at one time he was in a final where he beat the Bryan Brothers, but he used to house sit for Bryan Brothers. That's kind of a cool story to say, hey, keep believing in your dream. Mm-hmm. The Bryan Brothers, like the most positive guys on the tour. Patrick McEnroe said these guys get pumped up for breakfast. Mm-hmm. They waited so long to play Davis Cup. They didn't get the nod. I remember Chris Woodruff, great player. I think he was 11 in the world, Tennessee. But he was not really known for his doubles. But he played Davis Cup. And there was a point where John McEnroe wanted to be the captain and play. Mm. And he said, it came down to Todd Martin. Okay, the players decide. And the players said, well, we think you'd be fine for 3 sets, but not for 5. And that was one of many reasons that McEnroe, he left very quickly as the Davis Cup captain. But yeah, the Bryan Brothers, you got to hang in there. Everybody be tenacious because they were really worthy of representing the U.S. in Davis Cup before they finally said, okay, you guys get a shot.
Big time.
On our TIA, Tennis Intelligence Applied, Karina Morariu.
Yeah.
She used to take the racket low, high, low.
Yeah.
Now, she was a great player, and we really worked with her father, Albin. I was just charting matches twice a week with her first coach. And I should say with her coach at that time. They at one point, they were husband and wife. Anyway, but when she was a teenager, she took the racket low, high, low, reset.
Yeah. And
I remember telling Albin she needs to change her return to serve because of the speed of the game. Now, in her ritual, she kept the racket low, but she would split step, bring the racket back up, and she had high, low, high in the back. And she made a couple other subtle changes. But, Wimbledon doubles.
You got a clip on there where it shows her returning, especially.
Yeah, Krilla's going, the best one-handed backhand in tennis. Yeah.
I spent a summer as her practice partner as she was coming back after her recovery from cancer, and it was fun because I'd seen that tape. And anyway, so we hit a bunch while I was in Southern California one summer.
I mean, I have the utmost respect for Venus and Serena Williams. They're basically all the same age. Karina's the same age, and they were all in that Boca Raton, Delray Beach area. And if you go to an AAU track meet, you're going to see so many athletes. It's like watching volleyball, public school sport.
Yeah.
And tennis it's not a public sport, it's a private sport. It's not a major sport, it's a minor sport. But, Marario is very petite in comparison to both Serena and Venus, but her skills for playing doubles. Why don't we end with this? I've got lots of notes here, but this is about the halfway point. There's a funny story. Lindsay Davenport, she won Wimbledon doubles with Corina Morariu.
Yeah, number 1 in the world.
And I heard this on a podcast recently. She was being interviewed. And I think this is great perspective for people. So she said in her house, keep in mind, number 1 player in the world.
Yeah.
She's won Wimbledon doubles. I think she has 2 Grand Slam doubles titles, but she definitely has won Wimbledon. And she said in her house, she's not even allowed to talk about doubles.
Yeah.
Now, her husband, Jonathan Leach, he was double specialist on tour.
Right.
Brother-in-law was the best doubles player in the world at one time, Rick Leach.
Yeah.
Father-in-law, coach USC. And I think listeners need to hear this, is Lindsay Davenport, Wimbledon doubles champion, says, I'm not even allowed to talk about doubles in my house. I really didn't play doubles. According to them, I just played half singles.
Yeah.
And I just think people really need to hear stories like that.
Yeah, it's great.
But I've got lots of input. We can come back.
Yeah. No, I think we'll hold up there, put on the brakes for part 1 of our 2-part series on doubles. Covered some basics and more.
You want to play doubles, but you don't want to drink a double.
Depends on what the double is. Water?
No, whiskey and water. No. With booze, you lose. With doubles, got to play doubles.
Yep. Well, hopefully you got a lot out of that. Appreciate you listening.
I do think, though, we could even sign off by saying grip, swing, body. 3 components.
Yeah.
On the serve, grip, swing, body, toss.
Yeah.
I'll say this now, and I'll say this at the last, in the next segment. Great friend, coached his daughter for a long time. She won 10 national titles, 1 in singles, 9 in doubles, and bright guy. He has the glorified document from Harvard, the MBA, and he remembers saying, Steve, you should just run a doubles camp. Just teach doubles. Nobody knows how to teach doubles.
Yeah.
I said, well, I would, but you still have to teach people how to serve.
Yeah.
You still teach people how to return serve. You have to still teach people how to volley, how to hit an overhead. So it was great in theory. Let's just have a school for doubles. But doubles, I'd say doubles is becoming a lost art, and
Still
doubles needs to be saved.
Yeah, I mean, so you still have to have the basic skills.
Over and out.
Okay, thanks
Hope that was
everybody.
helpful.
Find us online at GreatBase Tennis on social media, GreatBaseTennis.com. Check out the course we talked about, Tennis Intelligence Applied. A lot of drills on there. We're redoing a lot of videos. Getting some HD footage out there on our YouTube channel, so you can find us on YouTube as well, GreatBase Tennis.
Yeah,
All right.
one thing is that our listeners is I'm giving Andy on an everyday basis personality lessons. He does all these great voices. You name it, English, Irish, you name it, lines from movies. This funny guy. We got to bring that out.
That is true. You are a great teacher.
A personality. So we got to get you to plug your personality in. Maybe the next podcast we'll get Andy to plug it in.
No, kids. Yep. All right. Thanks everybody for listening. Catch you in part 2.
Adios, amigos.
Over now. Auf Wiedersehen.